Millionaire marries a fake bride to calm his dying grandmother, but her final secret breaks his heart. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. Rain streaked the glass of the downtown hospital, silver lines running down like veins of sorrow. Inside the sterile hallway, fluorescent lights hummed low, the scent of antiseptic thick in the air. Adrian Cole stood stiffly near the end of the corridor, his $1,000 suit soaked at the shoulders from the storm he had just walked through. His tie was loose, his jaw clenched. For all the power he wielded in boardrooms, here he felt powerless. A doctor closed the chart at the foot of the bed and looked at him with weary eyes. "Mr. Cole, your grandmother's condition has stabilized for now, but she doesn't have much time left. If there's anything she longs to see, it should be soon." Adrian's throat tightened. His grandmother, Evelyn Cole, had raised him since he was a boy. She was the matriarch of the Cole fortune, the only family he had left. And for months now, her only wish had been clear. "I want to see you married, Adrian. I want to know you won't be alone." He looked at the fragile figure on the hospital bed, her silver hair spread on the pillow, oxygen tube resting against her nose. Even unconscious, her presence filled the room. He whispered, "I can't let you go worried. I can't." Later that night, the storm still pounding the city, Adrian sat alone in his black town car. His driver glanced in the rearview mirror, uncertain whether to speak. Adrian gave a curt nod, signaling silence. But in his mind, a plan formed cold, calculated, impossible. If Evelyn wanted a bride, he would give her one. Not love, not truth, but an arrangement. Enough to ease her heart before it stopped beating. Across town, Clara Jennings huddled inside a dimly lit library office, her arms wrapped around a stack of overdue books. The air smelled of dust and old paper, comforting yet suffocating. She rubbed her temples, trying to ignore the eviction notice folded in her bag. 3 months behind on rent. Utilities cut last week. Debt collectors calling daily. Her phone buzzed with another rejection email from a publishing house. The manuscripts she had been editing as side work were returned unpaid. The world seemed to be closing in. She whispered to herself, "Mom, I'm trying. I really am." The photograph of her late mother sat taped above her desk, smiling in brighter days. Clara blinked away the sting of tears. She was a survivor, but survival was becoming harder by the hour. When she heard a knock at the office door, she straightened quickly. The library had long closed. Who would be here now? She opened the door to find a tall man, rain dripping from his dark hair, suit jacket clinging to broad shoulders. His presence filled the narrow doorway. "Miss Jennings?" His voice was steady, commanding. "Yes," she answered cautiously, clutching the frame of the door. "My name is Adrian Cole." She froze. Everyone knew the name. Cole Industries. Billion-dollar mergers. Ruthless strategies. He was the type of man who existed in headlines, not hallways. "I don't understand," she said carefully. "I won't waste your time." He stepped inside, water pooling at his shoes. "I need a wife." Immediately. Clara's laugh was sharp, incredulous. "Excuse me? Not in the way you think." Adrian's eyes locked onto hers, dark and unyielding. "It's an arrangement, a contract marriage. My grandmother is dying. Her last wish is to see me married. I intend to honor that. And you, Miss Jennings, are perfect for the role." "Oh," Clara blinked, certain she had misheard. "Perfect? You don't even know me." "I know enough," Adrian replied, voice clipped. "You're single, independent, no ties that could complicate matters, and—" He let the words hang, pulling a folder from his briefcase and setting it on her cluttered desk. "You're desperate enough to consider it." Her stomach turned as she stared at the folder. Inside her debts, her overdue rent, her mother's medical bills. Documents she had fought to keep private. How did he even— Her voice trembled. "You had me investigated." "Yes," Adrian said plainly. I don't make decisions blindly. This is a business arrangement. I'll settle your debts, secure housing for you, ensure your stability. In return, you'll be my wife. Publicly, legally. Until my grandmother... He trailed off, swallowing the lump in his throat. Until... She passes. The silence pressed heavy between them. Rain hammered against the library windows. Clara's pulse raced. The offer was insane. It was cold, transactional, almost insulting. And yet, she thought of the eviction notice, the empty pantry, the constant fear. "What's in it for you?" she asked, her voice raw. His expression softened, just slightly. "Peace for my grandmother, nothing more." He opened the folder further, sliding out a crisp contract and a velvet box. Inside, a ring sparkled under the dim fluorescent light. Not a symbol of love, just an accessory for the part she would play. Clara's breath caught. The weight of the moment pressed on her chest. She could refuse, cling to pride, and watch her life collapse. Or she could sign, surrendering her freedom to a man she barely knew. Adrian's gaze was steady, unreadable. "Think carefully, Miss Jennings. This is not about fairy tales. It's about duty." Clara's hand hovered above the contract. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. "Sometimes survival means making choices you never imagined." "Oh," she whispered almost to herself. "What am I doing?" Adrian leaned closer, his tone final. "You're saving us both." Clara looked into his eyes one last time, searching for a trace of humanity beneath the steel. Then, with trembling fingers, she picked up the pen. The ink bled across the paper, binding her to a stranger, a contract bride. A role she had never auditioned for, but one she could no longer escape. And in the corner of the hospital across town, Evelyn Cole stirred in her sleep, whispering her grandson's name, unaware that her dying wish was about to be fulfilled, in a way neither she nor Adrian could have ever imagined. The night stretches long after the gala. The Cole townhouse is quiet when they return, but Clara can still feel the heat of cameras, Nathan's words buzzing in her ears. The pearls at her lobes feel heavier than stone. She excuses herself and retreats to the guest suite, pulling the ring off for a moment just to breathe. But when she sets it down on the vanity, she stares at the empty curve on her finger and, after a pause, slides it back. Sleep comes fitful, broken by dreams of Evelyn's sharp eyes and Nathan's mocking grin. At dawn, Clara wakes to silence, broken only by the soft hum of the city. She showers quickly, ties her hair back, and steels herself for another day inside a life that doesn't belong to her. Downstairs, Miss Davenport is waiting with her ever-present tablet. "Breakfast in the garden, Mrs. Cole," she says smoothly. Clara flinches at the title but follows. Adrian is already there, seated at a wrought iron table under ivy-covered stone. He looks different in daylight, less invincible, more human. He gestures to the seat. "Hungry?" Clara sits, folding her hands in her lap. "Not really. You handled yourself well last night," he says. "Better than I expected." "That's not much of a compliment. It's more than most people get from me," he admits. There's a shadow of a smile before his eyes harden again. Nathan won't stop. He thinks the foundation and Gran belong to him. "And they don't?" she asks. "They belong to her," Adrian says firmly. "I'm just trying to make sure her work outlives her." He sets down his coffee. "That's where you come in. She believes in us. And if she believes, the board believes." Clara is Alice. "So I'm a symbol." "You're more than that," he says quietly, but doesn't explain. Before she can press, Miss Davenport reappears. "Mrs. Cole, your stylist is ready. The foundation board meets at 10. Evelyn has requested you attend in her stead." Clara freezes. "Me? I don't even know the bylaws." Adrian's gaze meets hers. "You know stories. That's more powerful than bylaws." The boardroom is glass and steel, the Hudson sprawled behind it. 12 directors sit around the table, polished and skeptical. Clara takes her seat beside Adrian, her palms slick against the folder. Miss Davenport pressed into her hands. The chairman, Mr. Gray, clears his throat. "Mrs. Cole, we're honored, but you'll understand our concern. A sudden marriage, a new representative." His pause drips with doubt. Clara straightens. "I'm not here to replace Evelyn. No one could. But she asked us to carry her work forward." And I believe the point of this foundation isn't to polish marble or host galas. It's to make sure people who feel invisible know they matter. A director leans in. Fine words. But what about strategy? Expansion plans? Clara flips the folder open. The talking points blur. Useless. She looks up instead. Strategy without compassion is just paperwork. Evelyn knew that. She built programs that listened before they prescribed. If we forget that, we lose the soul of what she created. The room stills. Adrian glances sideways, pride hidden behind composure. Mr. Gray nods slowly. Spoken like Evelyn herself. The meeting shifts. Questions soften. Clara answers with honesty, even when she admits what she doesn't know. By the time they adjourn, the room feels different, lighter, less hostile. In the elevator down, Adrian finally speaks. You didn't just survive, you won. Clara shakes her head. I improvised. I'm not sure that counts as winning. It does, he says, because they believed you. That evening, Evelyn asks to see them. Her voice is weak, but her mind razor sharp. She listens as Adrian recounts the meeting, then fixes her gaze on Clara. You spoke like you've carried burdens yourself, Evelyn says. Clara hesitates. Haven't we all? Evelyn studies her, then smiles faintly. Good answer. Adrian needs someone who sees weight as something to share, not something to hide. Grand's approval feels heavier than any boardroom vote. Clara leaves the room with her chest aching in a way she doesn't dare name. Days blur into a rhythm. Mornings with Evelyn, afternoons at the foundation, evenings with Adrian at functions where cameras flash and whispers chase them. Clara learns to walk in heels that still feel borrowed, to smile when strangers probe too closely. Yet in stolen moments, an exhausted laugh in the car, Adrian's hand brushing hers by accident, the performance feels dangerously real. One night, after a dinner with potential donors, they return to the townhouse past midnight. The staff has retired. The halls are dim. Clara lingers at the bottom of the stairs. Good night, she says, turning toward her suite. Adrian stops her with one quiet word. Clara. She looks back. You don't have to keep proving yourself, he says. Gran already sees you. The rest doesn't matter. Her throat tightens. Maybe it does. To you. Silence stretches. Then he steps closer, but not close enough to touch. You're stronger than you think. Don't let Nathan make you forget that. Oh. Her pulse skitters. She nods, whispers, good night, and escapes upstairs before the air can break. But Nathan doesn't forget. At the next charity brunch, he slides into the seat opposite Clara when Adrian is called aside. His smile is knife-sharp. You play the part well, Nathan murmurs. But parts end. Tell me, how long do you think you can keep this up before the truth cracks through? Clara forces calm. What truth? That you don't belong, Nathan says softly. And when Gran finds out, it won't just break her heart. It'll destroy Adrian. On. Clara grips her water glass until it trembles. Leave me alone. Nathan leans back, satisfied. I don't have to touch you. The clock is already ticking. Adrian returns, but the moment is gone. Clara smiles too brightly, the pearls at her ears once again heavy as stone. That night, lying awake, she wonders if Nathan is right. The contract was supposed to save Evelyn peace of mind. But what happens when peace turns to betrayal? When the secret she carries one she hasn't dared voice finally comes due? The townhouse is silent, but Clara's mind roars. She turns the ring on her finger again and again, knowing part 3 of her story has already begun. The city feels sharper the morning after Nathan's veiled threats. Clara moves through the townhouse like a shadow, pearl studs in her ears, contract ring pressing into her skin. Every mirror she passes whispers the same question. How long until the truth cuts through? Adrian notices. At breakfast, he watches her stir coffee she never drinks. Ignore him, he says, voice clipped. Nathan feeds on fear. Clara lifts her gaze. He's not wrong. I don't belong here. Not really. Something flickers in Adrian's eyes. Pain. Or maybe anger at himself. Gran chose you. That makes you belong more than anyone else in that boardroom. The words linger as they head into another long day of appearances. By evening, after a week of non-stop scrutiny, they find themselves returning from yet another benefit dinner. The car hums quietly, headlights slicing the darkness. For once, Adrian dismisses the driver halfway, insisting he'll take the wheel. Clara sits beside him. Shoes kicked off. Gown pooled around her ankles. Exhaustion softens the sharp edges she has tried to keep. They drive along the Hudson, city lights shimmering across black water. Silence stretches until Adrian finally speaks, voice quieter than she's ever heard it. "I wasn't supposed to do this alone," he says. Clara turns. "What do you mean?" "My parents," he answers, fingers tightening on the wheel. "They were the ones who should have been here, guiding me, steadying Gran. But they were gone before I knew how to be anything other than a headline. I've built everything with numbers and walls, and then she asked for the one thing I couldn't manufacture: family." "Oh, wah." His voice breaks, just slightly. Clara feels the ache of it. She swallows. "You're not as unshakable as you want everyone to think." "No," he admits, "but weakness isn't safe in my world." Her hand twitches in her lap. For a heartbeat, she considers reaching for him. Instead, she says softly, "Maybe that's why she wanted me here. Not because I'm perfect, because I'm not." Adrian pulls the car to the side of the road, overlooking the water. He kills the engine. The world quiets to the hum of distant traffic and the lap of waves. "Why did you say yes?" he asks suddenly. Clara blinks. "You know why. Debt, fear, survival. That's the answer you give everyone else," he says. His eyes lock onto hers, searching. "But I'm asking you." She exhales, gaze dropping to her hands. "Because when you stood in that library, rain in your hair, asking me to give up everything for nothing, I saw something break in your eyes, and I thought, if I can give a dying woman peace, maybe I should." Silence falls, heavy and tender. Then Adrian leans back, running a hand through his hair. For once, he doesn't hide the weariness. "Gran isn't the only one you've given peace to," he says. The air tightens, charged, until Clara looks away first, heart racing too fast. Later, back at the townhouse, she can't sleep. She paces the guest suite, ring glinting in the lamplight. Nathan's warning echoes in her skull, but so does Adrian's confession. At last, she drapes a sweater over her shoulders and slips out onto the rooftop terrace. The city stretches endless, stars faint behind skyscrapers. She leans against the railing, breathing cool air, trying to untangle truth from pretense. Footsteps approach. She doesn't need to turn to know who at Island. "You should be asleep," Adrian says quietly. "So should you." He steps beside her, close enough she feels his warmth in the night chill. For a long while, they simply stand, watching headlights trace lines across bridges. "I used to come up here after meetings," he says. "Gran always told me the city could heal you if you let it. But most nights it just reminded me how small I am." Clara smiles faintly. "Funny. I used to sit on my fire escape and think the same thing. Only difference was, my city didn't sparkle like this. Just street lamps and the sound of sirens." He chuckles, a sound that surprises them both. Then his voice lowers. "When this started, I thought you'd be a solution, a placeholder. Nothing more. But every time you walk into a room, people believe. Not because of me. Because of you." Her throat tightens. "Don't say that." "Why not?" "Because it isn't real," she whispers. "Because the more you say things like that, the more I forget this is a contract." The words hang between them, sharp and trembling. Adrian doesn't move closer, but his eyes say enough. "Maybe some contracts were meant to be broken," he says softly. Clara's heart stumbles. She grips the railing, staring at the city lights until they blur. "Good night, Adrian." She manages, retreating before the night swallows her whole. Inside her suite, she leans against the closed door, pulse still unsteady. The contract on her desk feels like a wall between them, but the memory of his voice, the vulnerability he never shows, feels stronger. For the first time since signing, she fears not the lie they're living, but the truth clawing its way through. And somewhere down the hall, Adrian lies awake too, staring at the ceiling, realizing that the woman who was supposed to save his grandmother may be the only one capable of saving him. Morning breaks sharp and bright, but the mood inside the cold townhouse is heavy. Clara moves through her routine coffee she barely sips, pearls clipped in place, a smile practiced in the mirror, yet something feels off. Adrian has been distant all morning, his words clipped, his jaw tight. She senses it before he even tells her. Nathan has made a move. At breakfast, Miss Davenport sets down the tablet. The board has been summoned for an emergency session, she says. Anonymous documents have circulated allegations that this marriage is fraudulent, orchestrated solely to secure Mrs. Cole's inheritance. Clara's stomach drops. Anonymous? Adrian's eyes are steel. Nathan, no one else has the motivation or the arrogance. The ring on Clara's finger feels heavier than ever. The contract, once hidden in her drawer, flashes through her mind like a noose tightening. By noon, the boardroom hums with tension. 12 directors in suits sit in stiff silence, papers spread before them. At the head, Mr. Gray clears his throat. Mr. Cole, Mrs. Cole, these documents allege your union is a sham, designed to manipulate Evelyn Cole's final decisions. The board demands an explanation. Whispers ripple. Cameras aren't here, but the weight feels worse. A jury of billionaires deciding if she belongs. Adrian stands, shoulders squared. This marriage is real. Oh. Nathan leans back in his chair, smug, fingers steepled. Real? Forgive me, cousin, but it looks rushed. A week from first sight to courthouse vows? Conveniently timed with Evelyn's failing health? Clara forces her breath steady. Convenience doesn't make something false. Then prove it, Nathan says smoothly. Prove this isn't a performance. The room stills. Adrian glances at Clara, then back at the board. We don't owe you proof of our private lives. What we owe is to this foundation, and to my grandmother's vision. But Nathan is prepared. He pulls a folder from his briefcase, sliding it across the table. Yet your so-called wife signed an NDA. An NDA, gentlemen. Who signs an NDA for love? Gasps. Papers shuffle. Clara's chest tightens. She recognizes the signature her own. Adrian snatches the folder, fury flashing. You went through private files. Nathan smirks. The truth doesn't need permission. Clara rises, hands trembling. Yes, I signed. Because this world is nothing like mine. And I needed boundaries. That contract doesn't make me a liar. It makes me human. Her voice shakes, but grows stronger. What's more dishonest? Protecting yourself, or tearing apart a dying woman's last joy to feed your ambition? The words hang in the air like a gavel. The directors exchange looks. Mr. Gray clears his throat. We'll review this matter. For now, this session is adjourned. Nathan's smile lingers, but the cracks show. He wanted scandal, but Clara gave them conviction. Back in the car, Adrian is silent. His knuckles grip the wheel too tight. Clara finally whispers, "Did I make it worse?" His gaze flickers to her. You made it survivable. But beneath the words lies something darker. The realization that the wall between them is crumbling. That night, Evelyn asks to see them. The nurse warns she shouldn't be stressed, but Evelyn insists. Clara sits beside her bed, Adrian on the other side. Nathan is circling. Evelyn says weakly, he thinks he's clever, but cleverness without heart is hollow. She turns her gaze to Clara, eyes sharp despite her frailty. Are you afraid? Clara swallows. Every minute. Good, Evelyn says. Fear means you care. Adrian hides his fear. You show it. That's why you balance each other. She grips Clara's hand with surprising strength. Don't let him win. Not Nathan, not fear. Tears sting Clara's eyes. I'll try. Not try, Evelyn whispers. Do. Days later, the coincidence arrives. An exclusive magazine cover leaks a story. Fake bride, real fortune? Clara's face is splashed across glossy pages, words twisting her history, debts, and motives. At the grocery store, strangers whisper. At the foundation gala, donors glance sideways. The story spreads like wildfire, and Nathan fans the flames. Clara stands in the bathroom before the next event, gown shimmering, hands cold. She whispers to her reflection, You wanted survival. Now survive this. Adrian knocks lightly before stepping in. For once, the cold armor is gone. His eyes soften. They're going to look at you and see lies. Don't give them permission. Her throat tightens. What if I can't do this anymore? He steps closer. Then let me. For a moment, the room holds nothing but the weight of what he isn't saying. At the gala, Nathan strikes again. He approaches the microphone uninvited. smiling like a victor. "My dear guests," he says, "we all love Evelyn Cole, but we must ask, does her legacy deserve to be safeguarded by family or by fraud?" The room gasps. Cameras flash. All eyes turn to Adrian and Clara. Adrian starts forward, but Clara's hand grips his. Her pulse is wild, but her voice is steady when she steps up. "You want truth?" she says into the mic, gaze sweeping the crowd. "Here at Island, I didn't marry Adrian for money. I didn't marry him for status. I married him because his grandmother believed in family, and I couldn't bear to see her leave this world without hope. If that makes me a fraud, then so be it. But ask yourselves, what's more fraudulent? Love in disguise or greed in plain sight?" The room stills. A murmur rises, admiration, not doubt. Nathan's smile falters. Cameras capture everything: his scowl, her fire, Adrian's silent pride. For the first time, Nathan looks cornered. Later, back in the car, Adrian turns to Clara. "You didn't just defend us. You defended Gran. You defended me." Clara leans back, exhausted. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up." Adrian's voice is soft but fierce. "Then stop thinking of it as keeping something up. Start thinking of it as fighting for something real." She turns to him, heart pounding. "Is it real?" The silence between them is louder than any answer. And in that silence, both of them know the contract has already turned into something it was never meant to be. The scandal doesn't vanish overnight. Headlines still spit suspicion. Nathan still whispers poison in board members' ears, and Clara still feels the burn of cameras every time she steps outside. But something has shifted. She no longer hides behind Adrian's shadow. At the last gala, she faced the storm and spoke her truth. And Adrian, for the first time, looked at her not as a solution but as someone he couldn't afford to lose. Still, the clock ticks. Evelyn's health is slipping fast. The doctors keep their words careful, but the truth is plain. Her days are numbered. And with each labored breath, Clara feels the weight of the secret she's been carrying, the one even Adrian doesn't know. It begins the following week, in Evelyn's bedroom. The curtains are drawn, flowers fresh but fading in their vases. Clara sits by the bed, reading aloud softly. Her voice wavers, not from the story, but from Evelyn's hand clutching hers tighter than usual. "Clara," Evelyn whispers, eyes sharp even through the haze of pain. "You know I've always seen through masks." Clara freezes. "I don't," Evelyn interrupts. "You think you've fooled me. The contract, the lies, you haven't. I've known from the beginning." The words slice through Clara's chest. "You knew?" A faint smile curls on Evelyn's lips. "I knew the night Adrian brought you home. He thought he was deceiving me, but the truth was in his eyes. For the first time in years, my grandson wasn't cold. He wasn't a statue. He was alive." Tears blur Clara's vision. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because love isn't taught," Evelyn breathes. "It's discovered. I wanted him to learn what matters, and I wanted you to see that worth is not measured in wealth. You both needed this lie to find the truth." Clara's shoulders shake. "Evelyn, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry," Evelyn whispers, gripping her hand with surprising strength. "Be brave. Promise me one thing. When I'm gone, don't let Adrian bury himself in walls again. Break them, Clara. Break them for both of you." Clara nods, tears spilling. "I promise." "Oh." Evelyn closes her eyes, satisfied, drifting into sleep. The next day, Nathan strikes harder. At a shareholder gathering, he steps onto the stage with a dramatic flourish. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, his voice oiled with false sorrow, "we've been deceived. My cousin's marriage is nothing but a performance, a sham signed on paper while our matriarch lies on her deathbed. Do we want our legacy built on lies?" Gasps ripple. Cameras swivel. Adrian's jaw clenches, fists curling, ready to fight. But Clara steps forward first. She doesn't shout. She doesn't even raise her voice. She simply says, "If this marriage is a performance, then why am I the one here by Evelyn's side every morning? Why am I the one reading to her, holding her hand, hearing her fears when none of you, including you, Nathan, bothered to come?" The room hushes. Clara's voice trembles but carries. "You talk about legacy like it's numbers on a page. But legacy is people. It's love. It's sacrifice. If you think that's fake, then maybe the fraud isn't me. Oh, her words cut sharper than any accusation. The crowd stirs. A few nod. Nathan falters, rage flickering behind his smile. That night, Adrian finds Clara on the rooftop terrace again. The city lights spill over her, making her glow against the darkness. He stands there for a long moment before speaking. "Gran told you, didn't she?" he says softly. Clara turns. "Told me what?" "That she knew all along." His voice cracks. "I thought I was protecting her, but she was protecting me." Clara nods, throat thick. "She wanted you to learn what matters." "And I have," Adrian says, stepping closer. "It's you." "Oh." The words hit harder than any headline, any scandal. Clara's breath catches. "Adrian?" He pulls something from his pocket, not the contract, not the velvet box with the staged ring. This time, it's a simple band of gold, warm and unpretentious. Forget the papers, forget the deal. This isn't about saving face, or securing inheritance, or even giving Gran peace. This is about me, asking you without conditions, without rules, will you be my wife for real? Clara's eyes blur with tears. She shakes her head not in refusal but disbelief. "After everything? After all the lies?" "Because of everything," Adrian says. "Because through the lies, you showed me the truth. You showed me what love actually island." Her chest tightens. She remembers Evelyn's plea. "Break his walls." Slowly, her trembling hand reaches for his. "Yes," she whispers. "Yes, Adrian, I'll be your wife." For the first time, his walls shatter completely. He pulls her into his arms, holding her like she's the only thing tethering him to the earth. And Clara knows that even if the world doubts them, even if Nathan never stops scheming, they've chosen each other for real. 2 days later, Evelyn passes peacefully, a soft smile on her face, Clara and Adrian on either side of her bed. Her last words are simple: "Love well." Her hand slips from theirs, but her blessing lingers, filling the room with quiet grace. Clara presses her forehead to Adrian's shoulder, tears falling freely. Adrian's arms wrap around her, strong yet trembling. For the first time, they grieve not as contract partners, but as family. The funeral is small but dignified. Nathan attends, silent, bitter. Cameras swarm the gates. But Adrian shields Clara, his hand never leaving hers. Afterward, when the board convenes to finalize Evelyn's legacy, Adrian doesn't speak first, Clara does. And this time, no one questions her place. Weeks later, they return to the rooftop where everything shifted. The city stretches endless, lights shimmering like a promise. Adrian slides the plain gold band onto her finger again. But this time there's no contract, no pretense, no fear. "Till death do us part," he says quietly. Clara smiles through tears. And even after, the night holds them close, and somewhere above, Evelyn's words echo like a blessing. Leadership is love made visible. The weeks after Evelyn's funeral pass like a blur, yet each day seems etched into Clara's memory. The townhouse feels quieter, but not empty. Evelyn's presence lingers in every polished frame, every flower bed she once tended, every phrase etched into the foundation walls. Clara wakes early most mornings, slipping down to the garden where Evelyn used to sit with her tea. She breathes in the chill air, whispers small promises into the silence. "I'll take care of him. I'll take care of this family." Adrian joins her sometimes, though he rarely speaks at first. He just sits beside her, shoulders hunched like he's still carrying the weight of the world. But slowly over coffee, over shared glances, his edges soften. He no longer hides behind silence. He lets Clara see him, truly see him, even when it hurts. One morning, the board convenes for the final reading of Evelyn's will. The conference room is full, tension humming like static. Nathan arrives in a crisp suit, eyes gleaming with anticipation. The attorney clears his throat, reading Evelyn's words aloud. "To my grandson Adrian, I leave the majority of my estate, under one condition: that he continues the work of the foundation with integrity and compassion. To Clara, my granddaughter-in-law, I leave my library and personal journals because she understands that words build courage." Clara's breath catches. Evelyn had seen her, all along. The attorney continues. To Nathan Cole, I leave a single dollar and the hope he learns what true wealth island. A gasp ripples through the room. Nathan's face drains of color, then flushes scarlet. He surges to his feet. She can't. This is fraud. A setup. But the attorney only shakes his head. It is legally binding. Evelyn Cole was of sound mind when she signed. This is her will. The board members exchange looks some shocked, some grimly satisfied. For once, Nathan's bluster means nothing. He storms out, slamming the door so hard the glass rattles. Clara exhales for what feels like the first time in weeks. Adrian glances at her, the corner of his mouth twitching upward. Gran always had a flair for justice. That night, Clara curls up in the library. Evelyn left her. Shelves of worn leather spines surround her, journals stacked neatly on the desk. She flips one open, the handwriting delicate but firm. Love well. Lead with kindness. And never let fear decide your fate. Tears prick her eyes. She traces the words with her fingertip, whispering, I won't let you down. Adrian appears in the doorway, watching her with quiet eyes. She trusted you. She trusted us. Clara corrects. He steps inside, closing the distance. And I trust you. The simplicity of it unravels her. She rises, slipping her arms around him. For the first time, she realizes she isn't just surviving anymore. She's living. Months later, the garden is in bloom. The foundation has launched a new program in Evelyn's Honor Community Libraries in underserved neighborhoods, places where stories can light hope the way they once lit Clara's. At the ribbon cutting, Clara speaks with a steadiness she never imagined. Evelyn taught me that true leadership isn't measured in titles or balance sheets. It's measured in love made visible. This library isn't just shelves and books. It's proof that no one is invisible, that every voice matters. Applause swells, cameras flash. But for Clara, the only thing that matters is Adrian standing beside her, pride clear in his eyes. That evening, they returned to the rooftop terrace, the place where confessions began. The city glitters, alive with possibility. Adrian takes her hand, fingers warm and sure. I used to think strength was never showing weakness, he says. But you taught me that strength is letting someone in, letting them see all of it, the fear, the failure, the cracks. You broke my walls, Clara, and I don't ever want to build them again. Her chest tightens. I promised Evelyn I'd make sure you didn't. Oh, he pulls a small velvet box from his pocket, not the contract ring, not the plain band he gave her before, but something new. A diamond glints, elegant but not ostentatious. This isn't about contracts or conditions, Adrian says softly. This is forever. Will you marry me again for real, for love, for life? Clara's eyes blur. She nods, whispering through tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slips the ring onto her finger, sealing not a bargain, but a bond. They kiss under the city lights, the world sprawling wide and endless, yet small enough to hold in their joined hands. 1 year later, the rooftop garden is filled with friends, colleagues, and foundation families. String lights twinkle overhead. Clara walks down an aisle lined with books instead of flowers. Evelyn's journals, children's novels, poetry volumes, all symbols of the legacy that brought them here. Adrian waits at the end, eyes brighter than any skyline. When they exchange vows this time, there is no pretense, no fear, just truth, just love. I once thought marriage was a contract, Adrian says, voice thick with emotion. But you showed me it's a covenant of the heart. I vow to choose you every day, not because I need to, but because I want to. Clara wipes her tears, smiling through them. I once thought I was here to save your grandmother's peace, but it turns out you were the one who saved me from fear, from loneliness, from believing I didn't matter. I vow to walk beside you, not behind you, not in front of you. Beside you, always. The guests cheer as they seal it with a kiss, the city skyline blazing in the background. Later, as the night winds down, Clara and Adrian slip away to the quiet of the rooftop. She leans against him, resting her head on his shoulder. Do you think she'd be proud? Clara whispers. Adrian looks at the stars, then at the ring glinting on her hand. She already island. She knew before we did. They stand together in silence, letting the city hum around them. And when Clara closes her eyes, she swears she can still hear Evelyn's voice on the wind, gentle and firm. Love well. And they do. The years roll forward like chapters in a book Evelyn might have kept on her shelf. The cold townhouse no longer feels like a mausoleum for power, but a living home. The garden is alive with laughter during summer evenings. The rooftop terrace is no longer a place of secrets. It's where Clara and Adrian share coffee in the mornings, shoulders brushing, hearts steady. The foundation flourishes under their joint leadership. What was once a board split by politics is now a mission steered by compassion. Clara spearheads literacy initiatives, building libraries across boroughs, training community leaders. Adrian directs the funding, but for the first time, he isn't a man hiding behind numbers. He attends readings, shakes hands with volunteers, lets children press crayon drawings into his palm. He smiles more freely, and when he does, Clara swears the city itself softens. Nathan's shadow lingers only faintly. After Evelyn's will cut him out, his influence shriveled. He tried lawsuits, interviews, smear campaigns, but truth outweighed venom. Eventually, he slipped into silence. Clara doesn't waste thought on him. Justice has already been served. One autumn, Clara stands at a podium in a new community library, a ribbon stretched before her. The building hums with possibility, rows of shelves, computers gleaming, walls painted with murals of open books turning into birds. She speaks with her usual calm fire. Evelyn Cole believed leadership is love made visible. This library is part of that legacy. It isn't just a building. It's a promise that every voice matters, that every story deserves to be told. The crowd erupts in applause. Clara looks out and sees Adrian at the back, leaning against a pillar, his tie loosened, pride blazing in his eyes. When the ribbon falls, he's the first to hug her, whispering, "You've become everything Gran hoped for." She smiles through tears. "Number we have." At home that night, they walk the rooftop garden, leaves rustling around them. Adrian slips his arm around her waist. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Clara laughs softly. "From a contract signed in desperation, to this?" "To this," he echoes. "I used to think Gran's last wish was a burden, but it was a gift. She gave me you." Clara rests her head on his shoulder, the skyline glittering ahead. "And she gave me a family, something I thought I'd never have again." All. They pause near the edge, where Evelyn once stood with her tea. The city hums below. Adrian reaches into his pocket, pulling out something small. It's the original contract creased, yellowing, the ink faded. "I kept it," he admits. "Not because it bound us, but because it reminds me of where we began. A lie that became the truest thing in my life." Clara takes it, fingers brushing his. She folds it carefully, then slips it into her coat pocket. "We'll keep it, not as a chain, but as proof that even broken beginnings can grow into something whole." Seasons turn. Winter snows paint the garden white. Spring blossoms return. Summers blaze with rooftop parties. Autumns settle into golden peace. Through it all, Clara and Adrian hold steady. Not perfect, never simple, but real. On the anniversary of Evelyn's passing, they light a lantern in the garden. Clara whispers her words into the night. "Love well." The lantern drifts upward, carrying the promise higher than skyscrapers, higher than grief. Adrian takes Clara's hand as they watch it disappear into the stars. "We're doing it," he says. She squeezes his fingers. "We are." Years later, walking through one of the libraries, Clara stops before a framed photograph of Evelyn in her youth sleeves rolled, laughter frozen in black and white. Beneath it, the words she left them. "Leadership is love made visible." Clara smiles, pressing her hand against the glass. Behind her, Adrian's voice calls softly. "Ready to go home?" She turns, eyes shining. "Home," she repeats. Together, they step out into the city that once felt like a battlefield and now feels like theirs. The night air hums with the sound of possibility. And in that hum, Clara knows. They kept their promise. They loved well, and they always will. The epilogue begins quietly, years after the storm. The Cole townhouse is no longer a fortress of marble, and whispers it has become a home where laughter echoes against old walls, where the garden blooms with color every season, and where every window glows warm at night. Clara walks through the library Evelyn left her, now renovated but still carrying the scent of aged paper and wood polish. Children and families fill the space, their voices weaving into a melody of life. She runs her hand along the spines of Evelyn's journals, now displayed in glass cases. Each entry is a reminder of the woman who shaped their lives with wisdom, sharper than steel, softer than grace. Adrian enters behind her, jacket slung over his arm, his smile carrying the ease of a man no longer battling ghosts. "They've opened 3 more centers uptown," he says. "Your idea of pairing libraries with community kitchens, it's catching fire." Clara turns, her eyes bright. "Our idea." He leans down, brushing his lips against her forehead. "Still, you were the one who made me believe in more than balance sheets. I just followed your lead." She laughs softly, resting her head against his chest. Evelyn would argue it was the other way around. Later that night, the rooftop terrace glows under strings of lights. Friends, foundation members, and neighbors gather for the annual remembrance, a tradition Clara started. Each year on Evelyn's birthday, they release lanterns into the sky, carrying messages of hope. Tonight, the terrace buzzes with warmth. Candles flicker, glasses clink. Music drifts soft and steady. Clara stands with Adrian, holding a lantern between them. She whispers into the paper, "Thank you for giving me a family, for teaching me to love without fear." Adrian adds softly, "And thank you for reminding me that leadership means vulnerability, not control." Together, they light the lantern. It lifts slowly, catching the breeze, drifting upward. Dozens of others follow, painting the night sky with golden glow. The crowd watches in silence, each light a promise, each flame a story. As the lanterns rise, Clara feels Evelyn with them not as absence, but as presence. She imagines her smiling, nodding, whispering once more, "Love well." After the guests leave and the terrace quiets, Adrian and Clara linger under the stars. He takes her hand, intertwining fingers, and they walk to the far edge overlooking the city. The skyline glitters, reflections dancing on the river. "This view used to make me feel small," Adrian admits. "Like the city was daring me to prove myself." "And now?" Clara asks. He smiles faintly. "Now it feels like a reminder that we're part of something bigger, not to conquer, but to serve." Clara leans against him, her head fitting perfectly against his shoulder. "Evelyn would be proud." "She already is," Adrian says. "She left her legacy in us." In the quiet that follows, Clara pulls a folded piece of paper from her coat pocket. The old marriage contract creased, faded, edges worn. She had kept it all these years. She unfolds it, stares at the ink that once bound them in desperation. "Do you want to get rid of it?" Adrian asks gently. Clara shakes her head, smiling through the memories. "Number, it's proof of where we began, a reminder that even the most fragile lies can lead to the strongest truths." She tucks it back into her pocket. "It doesn't define us anymore, but it reminds me never to stop choosing you." Adrian kisses her temple. "And I'll keep choosing you every day for the rest of my life." As dawn creeps into the sky, the lanterns fade into the horizon. Clara and Adrian remain on the rooftop, watching light wash over the city. Their journey began as a bargain, as ink on paper, as a desperate attempt to calm a dying woman's heart. But it became everything Evelyn hoped for, a love rooted in kindness, strengthened by struggle, sealed by choice. When the first sunbeam touches her face, Clara smiles. "We did it," she whispers. Adrian nods, his voice steady. "We loved well." Oh, and with the city awakening around them, they step into the future together, no longer contract partners, no longer survivors of circumstance, but equals, soulmates, and the living proof that love, when chosen every day, outlives even time itself. The cold townhouse is alive with light. Strings of lanterns glow across the rooftop, candles flicker along the stone railings, and soft music drifts through the summer air. 3 years have passed since Evelyn's last breath, yet her presence lingers woven into every corner of the home, stitched into every brick of the foundation she left behind. Tonight is not a gala. It is a remembrance, a gathering of family, friends, and neighbors who have come to celebrate her life and the legacy she entrusted to Adrian and Clara. Clara walks slowly through the crowd, the hem of her dress brushing against the garden paths that Evelyn once tended. She pauses near the library doors where children sit curled with books, their laughter bright, their voices carrying the kind of hope Evelyn believed in. Clara's chest swells. This was the future Evelyn envisioned. Not marble, not headlines. Lives transformed by love made visible. She feels a hand slip into hers. Adrian stands beside her, his eyes softer now than they had ever been in those first months. He no longer carries the icy shield of a man guarding his empire. He carries warmth, steadiness, and the weight of lessons learned. "Ready?" he asks. She squeezes his hand. "Always." As twilight deepens, the rooftop fills. Tables overflow with food, not catered extravagance but home-cooked dishes donated by families touched by the foundation. Volunteers, board members, and neighbors mingle together. No lines drawn between wealth and need. For once, the city feels united. Adrian steps forward first, raising a glass. His voice is steady, clear, carrying across the rooftop. 3 years ago, we said goodbye to Evelyn Cole. She was more than a matriarch. She was the soul of everything we've built. Tonight, we honor her not with statues or speeches, but with the promise she asked of us, to love well. He glances at Clara, and his voice softens. She gave me a partner, someone who broke down my walls and taught me that strength isn't measured in silence, it's measured in love. Clara, you are her legacy as much as I am. The crowd applauds softly, touched. Clara steps forward next, her hands trembling but her heart steady. When Evelyn welcomed me, I thought I was only here to play a part, to ease her fears in her final days. But what she really did was give me a family. She gave me Adrian, and she gave me the courage to believe that even the smallest life can make a difference when lived with love. She gestures to the children holding lanterns at the edge of the rooftop. These lights we send into the sky tonight aren't just for remembrance. They are promises. Promises that we will keep leading with kindness. That we will see those who feel invisible. That we will keep choosing love over fear. Dozens of lanterns are lit, their golden flames flickering against the night. One by one, guests release them, and the sky blossoms with light. The city hums below, skyscrapers reflecting the glow, the river carrying it onward. Clara and Adrian hold theirs together, fingers brushing against the thin paper frame. "What should we write this year?" Adrian murmurs. Clara smiles through tears. Nothing new, just her words. She writes carefully, "Love well." Together, they let the lantern rise. It drifts upward, caught in the breeze, joining the constellation of others. For a long moment, they watch in silence. The night sky painted with fire. Later, when the rooftop quiets and the last guest departs, Clara and Adrian remain. The lanterns are only specks now, vanishing into the horizon. The city stretches before them, vast and alive. Adrian leans against the railing, pulling Clara into his side. "Do you ever think about that night in the library?" he asks. She laughs softly. "I try not to. I was terrified. You looked like you'd stepped out of another world." "I had," he admits, "and I was about to lose it all. That's why I came to you. Not because you were the easiest choice, but because, somehow, you were the right one. Even then, I think I knew." Her heart tightens. "You're telling me you fell in love with me the night you handed me a contract?" He smiles, the rare boyish grin that only she ever sees. "Not love, not yet, but hope, and that was enough." Clara presses her forehead to his shoulder, the city lights blurring beyond her tears. "You know, I kept the contract." Adrian chuckles. "Of course you did. It's not a chain anymore," she says. "It's proof. Proof that even the most fragile beginning can grow into something real." He kisses her temple, whispering, "And we'll keep proving it, every day." Seasons roll forward again. Summer heat fades into crisp autumn air. Winter's snow blankets the garden in silence. Spring blossoms rise fresh and bright. The foundation grows stronger, libraries multiplying across neighborhoods, communities flourishing. Each year on Evelyn's birthday, they gather, release lanterns, and renew their promise. Each year, Clara and Adrian stand hand in hand, knowing they are not just honoring Evelyn, they are living her legacy. On the rooftop one dawn, years later, Clara watches the city wake. Adrian joins her, slipping an arm around her waist. The skyline is golden, alive, endless. She whispers, "We did it." He nods, eyes on the horizon. "We loved well." And as the sun rises, casting light across the city, Evelyn once ruled, and the family she left behind, Clara and Adrian, know their story has come full circle. From a contract written in desperation to a life written in love, they have kept the promise, and they always will.